Hello. Haven't done a video for ages. My apologies for that. I've started in a few and then just halfway through and just thought, this is crap. I've got nothing much to say. So why say it if you haven't got anything to say? But I've got something to report now. This coming Saturday evening, I'll be on a live stream on YouTube on with my good mate, the Reverend Simon Sideways. I don't know if you watch his live streams. Most of you, I'm sure, are very well aware of who Rev is. But they're a lot of fun. They run for a few hours from about 7 o'clock. And people phone in, talk about this, that, just about anything. If you are a snowflake or easily offended, I would suggest it's probably not for you. There will be some bad words used and, things like that. So, yeah, but that'll be a lot of fun. I'll be there as Winston Smith's taxi, but I'll also be there as Uncle Matt. So if people want to phone in and ask questions or talk about cooking and stuff, do that. Anything goes. So that is live stream Saturday at about 7 o'clock. Right. While we're here, I might as well get a couple of things off my chest as well. So, a couple of examples, anecdotes for things that make me really wonder if we're ever going to get out of this because of the sort of the blue-pilled population. And I do believe that they are a very large number. Very, very large number. By far the biggest percentage of people in this country. And I think a lot of them are fighting and ignoring their cognitive dissonance, and they may always be asleep. Such as last week, I delivered to a very nice couple in their 60s, I would say, very well-to-do middle-class types, and they had the door open, and they were standing way back, and they're saying, "We're standing back here because we both recently had COVID, and we would hate to infect you." And I was just saying, well, I'm not afraid. I don't care. So if you want me to come in and bring your groceries in, I can do. If you want me to leave it here, I'll leave it here. Because I deliver groceries to people. That's part of my job. Anyway, they said, no, you just put it there and then we'll take it. I said, okay. And then as he's taking stuff, he said, oh, it's ironic really because we've both been double jabbed, and then we got COVID. And sorry, I made sure that, how you're feeling and you're right. And they had been feeling really rough. And they said, but we've both been double jabbed. It's just and I I think to myself, and this is where I'm going to sort of advise people of being very delicate if you are sort of trying to just leave those little crumbs, those little nuggets that might make people just address their cognitive dissonance, be aware of it, because obviously, as far as vaccines go, I've had some vaccines when I was a little boy. I had no say in the matter. I remember being in a doctor's office and having such a sharp pain in my arm or whatever and crying, and then he gave me a lolly or whatever and told me I was a good boy. Those sort of vaccines. I remember having the TB one. Is it the BCG they called it when I was about 12 or 13 at school? So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. But I'm not in the slightest bit afraid of getting tuberculosis or polio or those things that I've had vaccines for, because I'm immune from getting them because I've been inoculated. I've had a vaccine which stops me from getting them. So when people talk about these vaccines at the moment that now seem to be only really useful, if at all, for just a few months, and then they lose their effectiveness. And I'm watching Tim Paul, and they're saying some of them are dropping down to just a few percentage usefulness after a while. And that's why they're going to have to continually get you the booster. And I just sort of was saying to them, it's funny they call it a vaccine. Maybe they shouldn't call it that. Maybe they should reserve the word vaccine for vaccines. Anyway, I got a funny look. I thought, I'm not going to push it with these guys. Wish them very well. And but then they said, but as soon as the booster's available, we're going to be right there because we're good people. That's the right thing to do. You could mention to them that if you've actually now had COVID, you should be completely immune from it. Or certainly the understanding at the moment is that if you've had COVID, it looks like you are immune from ever getting it again. Now, obviously, they can mutate and become other things, and you might well be, susceptible to that. But there's your cognitive dissonance. You've had vaccines that haven't worked, but now you've had COVID, which because most of them, they're glued to the TV, and you can't escape that information that is out there. That you're now actually potentially completely immune from getting it again, but you're still going to have your booster shots because you're worried what people think of you. You want to be a good person, or that a tyrannical government has got his boot on your neck and they're going to punish you if you don't have it, and they're going to take away your liberties in certain ways, and you're desperate to have your liberty back, but you ain't going to comply your way out of this tyranny. You do not comply your way out of tyranny. Great quote from Luke. Is it? It's on Temple. Yeah. Anyway, so that was that. And then earlier today, a similar situation, but not to do with they had COVID. These are a very, very similar couple. Arrived there, they're standing back because they've just been pinged by the NHS app telling them that now they must lock themselves away or whatever it is. They've got to stay away from people. I said, are you ill? Have you got COVID? And they said, no. I said, oh, okay. And we've done tests, we're fine. And we're double jabbed. You're just like, okay. And yet you're gonna, this app you've got on your phone is now controlling your life, telling you where you can go and when you can go. Mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Anyway, so a couple of big examples of blue pills there, and to quote, we got a problem. It's something along the lines of, with that phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can, even though once you have red pilled and you've woken up and you can see the constant hypocrisy and lies from the media and the politicians, it doesn't mean that you can just make other people see it. People will either see it or they won't. They may come around. They may have a different period of time where it takes them to acknowledge it and come around. But, I suppose do what you can when you can. I would suggest politely and respectfully just to point out those little moments where, it's obvious that they are having cognitive dissonance. They're believing A and B to be true at the same time when they both contradict each other, so only one of them can actually be true. Like vaccine. It's not a vaccine. Like permanent immunity because you've had COVID, but you still got to have all the boosters. These moments. Anyway, another thing. My lady was watching on catch up. Anyone from the BBC watching, because I don't pay my licence fee anymore. She was watching ITV On Demand, or whatever it's called, ITV Player, this morning. She loves it. Holly and Phil. I mean, Holly, I get. Phil, not so sure about that guy. I think he's far too keen on sexually abusing children. But what do I know? But he's a hero and celebrated for it because he's gay. Go figure. Anyway, so she's watching Holly and Phil, and they've got the doctor on. And this is where I've mentioned this before on this channel, that I now am absolutely convinced we've got the war on being ill, or war on germs, because this doctor was saying, if you ever so slightly ill, anything at all, mild sniffles, a little bit of tummy ache, it's very important that you stay at home. Do not go to work. You're a bad person if you go to work. So this is where we've always had the thing. We've had the backbone of the country. The ones that go to work when they're not very well. They get the job done. You've all worked in places where you've got... there's some people there that just, no matter what's a tiniest little bit, they're off. Oh, I can't work. I'm really ill. And then the other ones go to work and get the work done. Because that's what you do. You work, don't you? And... But know that you're bad now if you want to go to work. At a time when there's really, really big problems in the country with the supply chain, they're telling you that you must not go to work if you're anything other than 100% fit. And then they say, make sure you order a PCR test. Bit of money for that, isn't there, for the pharmaceutical business? And make sure you're fully up to date with all your jabs. Cha-ching, cha-ching. That's the message. The preaching from the pulpit, the the clergy that they are, the The high priests are telling you that you must support the big pharmaceutical. Even if I stub my toe, I swear they say, I think you should get a PCR test and a vaccine for that. I'm pretty sure that would happen. Anyway, so I do try the white pill. I have moments where I really struggle because it does seem so bleak and dark. But I have this thought that, yes, the majority of people are either willingly or unknowingly completely asleep, blue-pilled. And you think that you might need a huge number of red-pilled, awake people to actually stop this. But I don't think the numbers need to be that great. You just keep chipping away. You keep trying to be polite and respectful and just point out to people their problems. And more people will wake up. But it does feel like a bit of a struggle. I'm losing my point here. Oh yeah. So part of me is thinking, I don't know how many people know about this. I don't know everything about it, but they are currently building these massive prisons in this country, like super prisons. I got that from my mate Rev. And he was also saying that on site of these prisons, they have crematoriums. And that is deeply alarming, especially if they're going to use, if they're not going to do autopsies on people, coroner's reports. So, if you were in the gulag and they decide to, boink you over the head until you're dead, and then they say, well, you had COVID and we've got to very quickly dispose of the bodies now. That's really alarming. That's very scary and sort of very black-pilled. But I don't think that's going to happen. But part of me wishes that they would kind of like accelerate and jump to that point, because that would wake up a lot of people. I think what's going to happen, if you are resisting having your medication, if for some reason you're mad enough not to want it, I think we can very fully expect to have more of our rights infringed upon. So you're going to become more and more like a medical apartheid, like a second-class citizen. I imagine where they're going to get you. They're going to make it very difficult for you to work. They're going to make it very difficult for your employer to employ anyone that isn't jabbed. They're going to make it... And you might not need that work. You might be retired. You might have a pension. Well, maybe they'll put infringements on the financial services. Perhaps you won't have access to your pension. A bank can say, we're not going to have a bank account for anyone that isn't vaccinated. Who knows? These things could happen. Definitely things like you got to renew your car license, your driving license or your MOT. No, sorry, you can't have it. The computer won't allow it until we click the box that you are up to date with all your jabs. It's going to make life extremely, extremely difficult. And, I've made this decision that I would rather go to prison than do it on a principle. But who knows? You might get to that point where you just go, I can't live. I cannot live. I can't do anything. I haven't got access to any money. I can't buy food because I'm not allowed in a shop. I can't see my GP because the GPs won't see me unless I'm, fully vaccinated. So I think it's going to get like that, and they're going to tiptoe their way there. Although it feels like great big giant strides to me. And I suppose that's my white pill. I'm going to keep reverting back to this. They can't get away with this. You can't completely demoralise the human spirit. Because that's what it is. It's demoralisation. It's psychops. It's to ground you, to grind you down to the point where you just submit and take lick the boot and take the jab and live in the pod and eat the bugs. You fucking scum. That's what it feels like. So anyway, I don't know. Should I stop talking before I absolutely ramble on? I think so. So yeah, that's it really. Keep your spirits up, everybody. And, when you're dead, you're dead. You won't care, will you? See you in hell. Bye.